All right, today we're gonna watch Grim Batol 14 I did. Grim Batol is infamous if you're a rogue for dropping the best in slot trinket Scarden's Grace. So I've run this place a lot. It's kind of super annoying. A lot of kicks, a lot of high health bosses, but it's not too bad after you get used to it. This first pull, in a 14, you pretty much got a line of sight every single one of those dragon roars. I don't know the name of the spell. And then the other thing to call out is if I ever get targeted with Twilight Flame here, where you start dropping the pools on the ground, I'm instantly Cloak of Shadowing that. I also sometimes on lower keys use Cloak of Shadows offensively during my death mark to get uptime on that, but you don't have to do that. One of the things I want to see how I do this dungeon is how often I'm hitting a combo point. Oh, see, we Cloak of Shadows there. Because it's a 14, I'm saving Cloak of Shadows for Twilight Flame. It's more important, in my opinion, to not have to deal with that mechanic at this key level so I can get the tremors. But anyways, yeah, what I was saying before is I want to see how often I'm over combo point building, if you will. Like right there, I was already at 7 combo points and I sent an extra mutilate. Just did it again. I was at 6 and I sent the extra mutilate. You really just only want to do it when you're at 5 and more, because you're trying to tick down the Deathstalker debuff to get Darkest Night active, right? That's going to be where a lot of your damage is coming from. Here I mutilate to get Caustic Spatter out before sending the Darkest Night, which is totally fine. The other thing I'm doing on this dungeon is I'm running Iron Wire, and we'll get some good examples of kind of how strong the utility of Iron Wire is here. I'll probably get it between going into next pull. Basically, with the changes they made to Subterfuge to kind of extend how long Iron Wire lasts out of stealth, you're getting 12 seconds of being able to spam out Iron Wire Garrotes. And so if we watch here, we're garroting that. I'm tracking with my nameplate ores the timer on those garrotes, and so soon as those get to 1 second, I'm going to send out more garrotes while I'm inside the window. So we're garroting here still. We got a Twitch follower. Nice. But yeah, and basically for the start of every pull throughout this dungeon, anytime there's a caster in the pack, you're going to see a lot of Iron Wires going out. Oh, and even prioritizing it sometimes over my combo point spenders, right? This, the utility is just so strong on high keys. And I think this dungeon is going to be like the best example of how strong Iron Wire can be. And this is a 14, right? So it's not even like at the lower key levels or in pugs it's strong. It's still strong at higher up. You know, I've talked about this before. A lot of people like to point to the best rogues in the world and say, hey, they're not running Iron Wire. You know, like, why should we? But you also got to look at your team composition, right? I guarantee you every one of those top rogues is running with a prot paladin. And I also would bet my bottom dollar that 98% of them are running with an Augvoker, right? Both of those classes have a tremendous amount of stops. It reduces the burden of other classes from needing to stop. This key, on the other hand, you know, we're running with a warrior tank, much different on the level of stops they have. Warlock, again, not the same level of stops as an evoker and a survival hunter. So, like, just because the top tier players aren't running it doesn't mean you also get a free pass to just ignore how insane the utility is. Not to mention Iron Wire also reduces the damage that those mobs put out for 5 seconds as well. Like, that's not to be slept on. Again, a benefit you don't need when you're running with an Augvoker, because they give that extra durability to the tank. But we get to do the same thing with Iron Wire. There we Cloak to Shadows the Dragon Cast, specifically so we could kick that Mass Tremor. Which looks like our Warlock beat me to the punch, but that's okay. Here we're gonna line of sight this again on a 14. You can't really risk it. Gotta get behind a wall. I do set my cooldowns into this destroyer. It does mean that they will not be up for the boss. But again, another concept I've talked about before in M+ is, you know, you're trying to see how efficiently you can get through every single pack, right? And the amount of health in the percentage pool is static. It doesn't change. So whether you're putting your damage into that Twilight Destroyer or you're putting your damage into the boss, you know, the health pool you have to deplete from the key to time it is identical. So it's totally fine, in my opinion, to send your cooldowns on the dragon here and not have it up for the start of this pull, right? Because we're going to still get like 2 death marks off on Umbrus here, if I had to guess. But we'll see what happens. We still have Kingsbane. So, yeah, I've ranted about that before. I shadow stepped too early there. Trying to get uptime on the boss, there's no reason to do that. I mean, you can definitely shadow step after that cast goes out, but give it a second, right? You don't have to be the perfect timer. Yeah, now I just made my entire group's life a little bit harder because I was trying to optimize uptime. Here we're just watching our Envenom buff. Kind of pulling. I should send this Envenom because we don't have one up. There we go. Fainting every single commanding roar. You'll see me send some evasion on those sometimes. It's physical damage. I don't think Cloak of Shadows does much for you. Alright, so now we're setting our cooldowns. Get above 5 combo points. Use our spender. The other thing I like to do here is when Subterfuge is about to fall off, which is this little tracker left of my energy bar, I'll throw out one last Garrote to refresh the duration of improved Garrote, right? So even though it's not in the pandemic timer, even there's like still 12 seconds left on Garrote, at the end of the 12 seconds of Subterfuge, I'm going to send out another Garrote just to increase the uptime on improved Garrote. Plus it's a very good combo point builder, right? Because we're running the talent that makes that give us 3 combo points instead of just 1. So it's a good button press. Boss fights are insane on 14s, how long they take. We've already got 1 death mark off. We're about to get a Kingsbane off. We probably won't get to that second death mark like I suggested. Here, I accidentally misclick.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I misclicked my button. Really scary.
I fucking found shit out of that.
2 blunders. 2 huge blunders. So, you just gotta take a breath. You can recover from that kind of stuff, assuming no one dies. But that's super dangerous. The tank, at this point, is running low on cooldowns. And they don't need me dropping a rock spike on them. Thankfully, we get through that.
Despite my constant throwing.
One thing I've never talked about on running keys is Assassination Rogue single target is kind of bad. So don't feel bad if you're not topping the meters every single boss fight. No, that's kind of expected. There's other classes with much better single target inside the M+ ecosystem, for the lack of a better term. But yeah. So here, Iron Wire is going out again. Look at those timers, right? I'm just going to send out one last... Oh, we vanish for even more Iron Wire because we were also sending our cooldown into the Molten Giant. They're still silenced. They've still been silenced. I might put a timer on the screen when I go to do the edit for how long these things have been corroded. And just now, Iron Wire is ending. Nobody in the group had to use a single kick up until that moment, and the mobs were already dead. Like, this is the prime example of why Iron Wire is like a busted, insanely strong utility skill. We're gonna do the same thing here. Again, this is kind of what I wanted to highlight in Grim Batol, because Grim Batol and Stonewall are the two dungeons where Iron Wire is the most insane value, and you're seeing it again here. Packs are at half health, and this is the first time they've been able to get a cast off. I would go as far to say, when you're learning Assassination Rogue and you're trying to practice your Iron Wire, it's okay to mess up your DPS rotation a little bit to get used to kind of the growth flow timing, right? I mean, I've been playing Rogue for, what is this, 2 expansions in a row now, so the rotation is kind of ingrained in my brain. I can kind of do both at the same time. And I'm sure if I like watch this in slow motion, there would be a lot of mistakes. But the important thing in the packs is the uptime on Iron Wire. It's not your damage. I have the luxury of having 2 good other DPS with me. But even in a pug, until you hit that wall of you can't time the key because you don't have damage, I would focus on that Iron Wire uptime. It's going to give you a lot more bang for your buck than damage. And it's still good damage. Like, the Groats got a lot of things buffing them. They do big damage. Good old Throngus. For Throngus, you're gonna feint every single one of these AoEs. That's all you really need. You can throw out a Crimson Vial if you're getting to about half health, you know, help out your healer, as always. Bait the fiery cleaves, nothing new here. If you get targeted with the debuff, you're going to hold your Cloak of Shadows until either the last second of the debuff or he starts his AoE, whichever one comes first. So this is the Tank Buster. So here we have Molten Spark. We're going to hold this because we were the first one targeted until there was 1 second left on Molten Spark. That's when we Cloak of Shadows, because you want as much overlap with this AoE as possible. And because we were the first one targeted, we had to use a feint there right at the end to kind of cover the last seconds of the AoE defensively. But the best case scenario, in my opinion, is you get targeted last. You can Cloak of Shadows as soon as the AoE starts and like avoid the entirety of the AoE. We get super trolled here. Oh, Frungus, what are you doing? Standing on the stairwell, a little tricky. Decent bait. We were talking in comms about moving the boss, so none of us were exactly sure where to stand. Don't use a feint there. I was feinted pretty late. It's not good. Tough on the healer. Here, we're going to send evasion on this next debuff if we get it. So we Cloak of Shadows, the first one. You always want to get that off onto cooldown as soon as possible, so it comes back up from being on cooldown as quick as possible. But we did not get hit with a spark there, so lucky, lucky. Here, this is a fun little situation where the boss is at 30%. I'm going to send my cooldowns. No hesitation. It might have been lower. It might have been like 23%. When you get to 14s, like 20% is enough to send your cooldowns. Like, we got full value on Deathmark, and the boss is still at 9% health at the end of those cooldowns. So it's kind of we pop evasion here because we're at the end of the fight. No point in saving it anymore. We're not going to get targeted with another debuff, or if we do, it won't last long. But yeah, higher keys, you know, it's a lot easier to manage your cooldowns because the health pools are so high. There's just more opportunities where sending your cooldowns is a good decision, if that makes any sense. Because for any given pack, the amount of health, effective health left in the pack is always going to be higher then in keys where the health pool's lower. I don't know. That seems like math, right? Oof. Almost got trolled by that pet there. Here is another room where iron wire is going to be invaluable. We're also going to be making use of Shiv to get rid of the enrage. We have a lot of things to stop the enrage. Our warlock did a lot of fearing to get rid of the enrage on this in this section of the dungeon. But here we go. We're iron wiring. We're waiting till the last possible second, and then we're getting out another garrote. We're waiting till there's 1 second left. We garrote again. And then in between that, we're just trying to do our normal rotation. I'm also calling out in comms when iron wire is falling off. So basically I'll basically say, all right, iron wire ending in 3 seconds. And then people know to get their kicks ready. Man, iron wire is so good. Such a strong skill. Here, always target the enforcer. Basically, you want to kill the enforcer in like the perfect scenario. You kill the enforcer right as the lava bender gets to 50%. So enforcer dies, everyone can focus the lava bender, and you don't want a period of time where the enforcer's alive and the lava bender is enraged, basically. It's not technically in a rage, I don't know what you would call it. But here we go. Spirit Link, love that. We popped evasion there. We'll see if we faint out of that. We faint, okay, a little late. Not bad. Yeah, in a coordinated group, we're doing a lot more calls. So again, we're just sending out our garrote. We're going to target the enforcer as soon as it gets here. And then garrotes are ending. Tell the group. Now we got to start doing our kicks, right? We lost our Darkest Night buff here because we're focusing the enforcer. Which kind of stinks, right? Especially when we're sending a cooldown in there. And you can kind of see that reflected in the damage charts, right? So that was just a King's Bane in an AoE pack, and we're only at like 2.7 mil. We'll see if we can compare that to a pack later on where we're sending only the King's Bane and we actually are hitting into our Darkest Night target, because I think it'll be a big difference. Another enforcer, but again, we're focusing, obviously we're trying to get our Scent of Blood stacks up. We've talked about that in the guide, but we're also focusing on just getting the garrotes out. So garrotes are ending. Now we can go back into our normal rotation. We don't need to spam out those garrotes. But again, insanely high value skill. All right, I'll stop talking about iron wire. I think we've beat that horse sufficiently. It is an extremely good talent. Please take it. Here, just set up your focus macro to kick one of the warlocks. Go into the lava bender. The thing I would call out on the lava bender is I didn't send my cooldowns immediately. I waited until it was probably at 3/4 health. Because the dangerous part of the lava bender, and see, I still didn't time it quite right, is this last 50%. So you don't want to send it right away, because all that would do is put it into the 50% health enrage sooner. And then it's in the enrage and your cooldowns are over. And now you're just spending more time in that enrage. So you kind of want to time it where, depends on the key level, what health percentage, but all right, when it's at 3/4 health, I'm going to send the death mark then. So it's amping. So King's Bane amps to its most powerful. This is like a lame way to say that. But you want King's Bane to be fully ramped soon as the boss hits 50%, because you want to try and obviously gun it down from there as quickly as possible. Using our focus kick. It's another horse I've beat quite often on this channel. All right. This is just a 2-pack pull, so we won't be able to compare the King's Bane damage with and without Darkest Night. But maybe we can still compare and see if it's that big of a difference. Again, we're holding the Kingsbane here, right? And since it's only Kingsbane, no Deathmark, we're holding it even longer than we did with the previous Lava Bender. We waited till about 60% before we sent the Kingsbane. So just like a little subtle thing that you can do to be better. All right, so that Kingsbane with Darkest Night active and only 2 mobs got up to almost 1.7. It was almost doing the same amount of damage as our Kingsbane without Darkest Night. So just to give you an idea of how important it is to monitor that debuff, that's the prime example. Here again, we're focusing on Ironwire. So because there's more than 3 mobs, we're doing a lot more corroding because we want to make sure it hits all the targets that we have to worry about. Excuse me. Also throwing in a couple feints in there. Those are just like passive, just in case I get hit with a Shadow Bolt feint. I'm not always necessarily monitoring my cell frames to see if I'm being targeted, because feint is such a free button in AoE. If I'm in a pack with a lot of casters, you'll see me send out feints even when I'm not being targeted, because it's off the GCD, costs no energy in AoE when we're flooded with energy. So I just send it out of habit in case I'm getting targeted and I don't notice. Here, focus kick. Someone beat me to it. There's only 2 casters. We're in a coordinated group, so I can bet my bottom dollar that we just had people backing up. If you ever accidentally pull those 2 lava benders when you're trying to skip them, check your ring from the Siren Isles for legendary skippers. It's been known to pull those 2 mobs. So if you were like, how the hell did those get pulled? Pardon my language. Check to make sure you're not running that gem. It is best in slot for, I want to say, every DPS class. I don't actually know, but I remember that was kind of the meme when it came out. We're just chilling, playing it extra safe. Not trying to do too much optimization. We're waiting for RP anyways. This boss, a lot of times I'll have to vanish to reapply Dark or Deathstalker. We got lucky here. Our Darkest Night buff was active, so we didn't have to do that, but I'll pretty much always have a vanish ready to be used here. Only thing to call out is this little rock guy. If you stand right here, boom, you don't get knocked back. You still need to hit the damage still goes out. You still need to hit at least a feint, which is what we did there. But if you're not being targeted by the fire elementals, you can hide in that little nook. If you're being targeted by those fire elementals, I wouldn't risk it. I would just pop evasion, feint, and get out of the group. But when you know you're not being targeted, you can hide. There we held Darkest Night and pooled energy, specifically waiting for the ads. So see there, we were targeted by a fire elemental. We didn't bother using the nook. We just said, all right, I'm going to get out, make sure nothing goes wrong. But yeah, I held Darkest Night until the fire elementals spawn to try and get the caustic spatter damage, and then use my energy to help burn down the ads faster. Just dodging waves. Here again, we're pulling a little bit, mostly because we're trying to wait for these ads to come out. We're not targeted with the ads, we're going to our nook. Should probably start pulling here. Sure enough, here we go. The Envenom buff fell off, which is why we reapplied it there, but I expect we'll go right back into pooling. We corroded because that was falling off. And then as soon as the ads are out, we're spending. We're spending our energy trying to burn them, help burn them down. Go in the Nook because the ads were dead. We didn't have to worry about them. And now we're about to send our cooldowns. Oh, the boss's health is at 51%, so we held on to our cooldowns there because it was about to die. Good job, past Djibouti. Here again, I think we're about to see me. We get out our Scent of Bloods and then we go into nothing but garrotes. All right, we use our cooldown. We use one mutilate to get caustic spatter out, but then we're just spamming garrotes. We use vanish, and everything is just literally either a garrote or an envenom, and then a mutilate to reapply caustic until our vanishes were over, and we're still doing 5 mil DPS. So even with no fan of knives in that opening part of the rotation, we were just focusing on the silence.
Alright.
Still doing huge damage. Same thing here. I only Cloak of Shadows if I get hit with the debuff that drops the pools on the ground. I might send it if the destroyer's about to die. I'm going to guess I won't send it here because I want it up for the Corruptors. In a 14, the Corruptors get a lot scarier with every key level. So normally where I would send Cloak of Shadows here just for uptime on this destroyer, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste it in a situation where I'm going to take no damage. See, I'm saving it. So I got hit with the debuff, but I didn't Cloak of Shadows it because I knew we were about to hit this Corruptor pack and the dragon was already dead. So what you do kind of changes as key levels go up, right? I wouldn't be prioritizing Iron Wire as heavily as I am in like an 8 key, say, because, you know, for me that's a low key. If that's a high key for you, please still prioritize Iron Wire. And then I'm also changing how I'm using my defensive based on the key level. Feint is going to reduce the damage you take from Corrupt, but it's not as strong as Cloak of Shadow. That's completely negating it, so I'd rather just have that Cloak of Shadows in my pocket in case my healer can't get me up. Here, I will Fan of Knives only for the combo point generation, right? Like, it's not critical that we're killing these hatchlings. It's actually better for my single target damage if they're alive and I can use them as combo point generators for my single target damage. Obviously use them for Scent of Blood stacks too, but you know, I'm not trying to burn down the ads, you know, just focusing the Corruptor. The only other thing to call out here is you can vanish the Corruptor once it goes on you, and you want to wait until you actually get hit with the first stack to use it. This one we evasion and feint. And you want to wait because you want the cast to go off. If you vanish while it's casting on you, it will just reset and cast on someone else. Whereas if you let the first tick hit you, it'll wait the full duration before it starts casting a new instance of it. So we got a hit with another one. We pop evasion for that one. Or excuse me, Cloak of Shadows for that one. Let's see if we get targeted again. I'm probably looking at my health potion or my health stone if we get targeted again.
He's gonna need more health stones.
And doing all right on the timer. Feeling like we got a pretty good chance. We just gotta have a pretty clean boss fight. And we didn't really get hit with any more corrupts, which is nice, because the other thing I like to do for the final boss here is save my vanish for when the ads come out. to apply ruptures to get scent of blood stacks and energy, right? Because we want that energy and single target. We're really hurting in M plus for energy. So I save my vanish. I don't use it as part of Deathmark here. I'm going to keep it till the ads come out for the energy regen and for the scent of blood stacks to help push into the boss. Go with just the feint there. A little spooky.
All very trash.
Again, holding on to vanish. Doing a little pooling of energy. You really want to make sure you have enough energy to feint for when you get it targeted with this Abyssal Corruption. I didn't have Cloak of Shadows, didn't have evasion, so feints were all we could do there. Healer kept us up. Here we go. So the ads are in. Wait for them to group up. We throw out our ruptures until we're at max scent of blood stacks, and then we're pushing the boss, and we're not hitting more ruptures. We're not trying to kill the ads for the same reason I said before. One, the more ads you kill, the more it empowers that AoE that just went off. But two, I want them there for the combo point generation, which I'm not using right here. I should be fan and knivesing while there's still any of those ads up, because that's going to help my single target. The longer those live, the more combo points I get to generate from them, the better it is for my damage. Again, we're pre-spreading, trying to get as much room in the group as we can. Windows update, go away, please. Here we're getting out ruptures. Same principles. We're trying to build scent of blood stacks. Mostly doing it for the energy, I would say here. We don't bother getting to 20. Oh, I guess we did bother to get to 20. And then only pumping the boss. And then, yep, using Phantom Knives as our builder. Ads are dead. We go back into our Mutilate spam. You can Cloak of Shadows these. If I'm not running with my Survival Hunter friend, who is Turtles the first set, I'll Cloak of Shadows the first set if I'm in a pug, for example. But since he turtled the first one, I Cloak of Shadowed the second one. And it might be the third one. I might be wrong there. We evasion the debuff. And we're going to be going for the ads. Not sure how the hunter died, but we have a B-res, so get him back up. Again, we just pop feint there. We Crimson Vial to get ourselves topped off. At that point, it was kind of whatever. There's no real... Once the AoE's over, there's not that much... I don't think there's any damage hitting you. But one less person the healer has to heal. And this is real tight. Wow, I gave that warlock no room.
Sorry.
Definitely my heart was racing at this point in the key. 2 minutes left. I'm sure we're all shouting at each other. Pop feint, and boom.
Woo!
Just like that.
GG.
That's how you get it done. 1.82 million overall at the bottom of the charts, but a lot of utility. Hope you enjoyed that. Highest key we've done on the channel so far. Hope to be showing up some more 14s on the channel in the future, and thanks for watching.
Woo!
That was fun.